Fine, can you hear me?
I can hear you crystal clear, dude.
Uh-oh.
Just as long as I'm not lagging out or anything, we can talk.
Okay, good shit. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, what up, dude?
What up, man? How's it going?
It is freezing us cold down here at the bottom of the planet right now.
Really? I'm jealous. I kind of
Yeah,
want it to be. I want it to be cold here. It's actually really hot here right now.
and I prefer the hot weather.
Yeah. You guys actually have like summer Christmas? It's like over there. It's like, how you want to spend Christmas? Let's go to the beach. Okay.
And barbecue, yeah. I typically had barbecues on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Like here, it's like, how do I want to spend Christmas? It's actually snowing, like how it's traditionally like designed, and then I'm just inside with like a hot cocoa.
Someone in your chat, JKOA, says, "What a beautiful accent." Shit, man. Thanks.
There you go, dude.
What?
You're
I
winning.
don't think it's that great, but thank you.
You've won the chat over already, dude.
Fantastic.
You're great. All right.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and fill me in really quick before I jump into these replays with you. Race, league, and kind of just like your overall play styles.
Cool. So I am currently. Well, I was hovering somewhere around Plat 3 between 2800 and 3K. However, in the past 24 hours, I tanked my account because I was like trying to get a good replay for coaching, and then I'd get a minute in and I'd make a mistake and I'd be like, oh no, there's no way ViBE's going to tear me apart for that. So I just quit out and go again. Because I wanted to like have a reasonable representation of myself. So right now I'm beating around in like Silver MMR or something.
Okay.
But I'm going for Plat 3 range of gameplay, and you'll be happy to know I play the correct race.
Sick, dude. Terran.
Yeah, I play Terran, yeah. Oh, you saw that one coming.
Yeah. Only a Terran player would say that.
I play Zerg, bro. I play Zerg.
Yeah,
I've never done one single game as Terran, and I've only mucked around with Protoss a little bit. So I play Zerg. And I was hoping we could start off with the one that was the replay that was titled Not Terrible.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I managed to get a not terrible time trial of myself just trying to max out together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not amazing, but I think I went not far from the quota that you set in beta GM.
Yeah, that's
about 8 minutes 50-ish or something like that. I hope.
Well, if you can manage to do something similar to beta GM, you're already on the track to literally getting to plat. Because I just saw someone in chat say, how do you go from plat to silver? Honestly, or like even the other way around, if it was how do you go from silver to plat? Either way, it's all, in my opinion, very similar. It's like something as simple as like, oh man, I'm taking the gas way too early. That could literally take you from platinum all the way back down to silver. Like just that. Because it's like, oh, I don't realize how inefficient my build is now.
Yeah. And then I want to clarify for anyone in the chat that I was like getting 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes in, and then like being, oh no, I made a mistake, and then I'll just quit out of the game.
Sure.
And I was just doing that over and over.
It's all good. Yeah. Like honestly, I in my opinion, I really do see though, like everything between bronze and plat, it's all the same thing. The only difference is platinum players will just execute this stuff, the same stuff bronze players are doing, but they'll just do it a little bit better. So, like but the playstyles, all that stuff it's the concepts are all exactly the same. Like everybody overreacts, everyone falls apart to aggression, everyone does the same things. It's just, you know, the higher league you go, the more likely they're gonna be able to pace this stuff a little bit faster. So
I was having a hell of a time getting together something that I was like gonna be okay with.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll
see what's
get
going
into this replay. See what you think.
First things first, you definitely built the drone right away, which is important. It's always good. You know, if I would have saw you, for instance, like if I would have saw you move the overlord first or something like that, or try to split your drones and then move the overlord and then make a drone, and you made your drone in like 5 seconds, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's not ideal, but definitely
4 seconds behind because of that.
Yeah, like the biggest rule to always follow for Zerg is trying to spin that larva as fast as you always can. It never stops. It does stop when you're maxed out, because then it just stockpiles. But up until that point, and then, you know, every second from the second 1 in the game is more important than second 10, 20, 30, 40. Every second that goes by is a little bit less important than the previous one, but they're all still super important as a whole. But yeah, getting to max is like just getting your larva spent ASAP is always critical for Zerg. So your build so far is fine. It's all G. It's all G. Up to this point, we're gonna speed it up a little bit. Taking your pool. It's all G still.
Also, I'd like to warn you in chat that I do not GLHF and I do not GG and I do not talk trash and I don't say anything. I'm just a silent player. So if anyone wants to get butthurt that I don't GG,
what?
Apologies in advance.
You don't GG? If I was partying, I would. I would just end this coaching lesson right now if I was partying. Fuck you, no GG, and I just fucking end the call. All right.
Oh, GG. Thanks, Ellen. Bye.
Yeah. So your gas way too early. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, this is one thing I think a lot of players tend to mess up. Because you're doing B to GM, right? You're not doing a speedling opener. Before I continue with this.
Not doing speedling opener. Yeah, I think I was just trying for B to GM with this one.
Okay, okay. So, that a lot of people who recreate, you know, certain styles, they will, like, this is the most common mistake a lot of people make, and it's how early or late they take gas. And this game, you're taking it way too early, and the reason why is because you're taking your gas a little bit late if you were going to be going for a speedling opener, and you're taking it way too early if you're going to be going for a layer, roach, you know, that whole thing. So, the gas is just going to be, what we're going to notice is if your gas is going to either be really high really fast if you're going to spend your larva properly, or you're not going to spend your larva so that you can spend your gas on time from when you took it, which means your larva is going to get stuck to be like waiting on it every now and again, because you're going to have like the layer ready to go way too early. Like with the way you're taking your gas, you're going to have over 100 gas before your queen's done by a bit, by probably like 15 or like 16 or something. But if you take your layer like right away, with how your gas is going, you're definitely gonna have larvae sitting in your hatcheries. We'll go from there, but yeah, your gas should be going down around 20 supply, and you took it at 17.
Got it.
So the build should be for you. Also, your pool is at 17 too. So you went 17, 17, 17. Your build should be for beta GM style. It should be 17 hatch, 18 pool, 20 gas. Which will just allow you to, and what it allows you to do is every time you have a larva, you spend it, you spend it, you spend it, you spend it, and then it'll line up your gas as well to where you'll have 100 right as you make, or right as your queens are done. Yeah, because like right now, you'll see you'll have more than 100 gas when your queens are out.
Did I?
So it's just gonna be a little tough on the eco. But okay, now we'll look at, also you double overlorded, which is not ideal either. I do not think that's intentional, obviously.
It's not like that actually this was the exception, but the reason it was the exception is because I am supply blocking usually at 36.
Okay.
And so this time I was like, oh god, what do I
yeah,
let me try and do something for myself here.
My biggest tip to be for just building habits and fundamentals would be learning eye placements on the screen, and there should be 3 eye placements you constantly rotate your eyes on. Like you can like periodically check the mini map, you can periodically move your eyes around the screen, whatever you want to do, but the 3 placements you should always kind of rotate your eyes in often should be the very bottom middle to look at your subgroup area, the very middle of the screen just to like, you know, see what the hell you're doing, and usually this should be centered with like, oh, the middle of my screen looks like a hatchery, the middle of my screen looks like my other hatchery, like you're like checking your bases and stuff, and things like that. But you shouldn't be, obviously, like you wouldn't want to check the bases like in the top left corner of your screen, like, you know, if you're looking at the stream right now like that, like you're not gonna look at your base like this, like, oh, what's going on up there, like you're gonna centralize everything almost all the time when you look at it. So the center of the screen is obviously where your eyes should rotate around as well, and then always the top right. If you rotate bottom, middle, and then top right, you just rotate. You don't have to do it like every single half a second, and then just like get dizzy and shit. But like within every 5 seconds, you should be rotating this cycle once. So like check it, and then within 5 seconds you check it again. Within 5 seconds you check it again, and you're always checking these. And if you really make a big habit about it, it'll be so much easier if you train yourself to always look up here at your supply, at your resources, which will help you look at things like, okay, well, first of all, the biggest one is obviously don't supply block. Like everyone understands that if you can just look at the supply and you go, oh well, instead of having to have a sequence where I have like a system where it's like I spent X larva, now I have to build Overlord, and I make it like a math equation. I could just literally be like, do I have free supply? If the answer is no, I make Overlord. If the answer is yes, I make other things. And then as soon as that answer becomes no, I make Overlord. And when I would say you do not have free supply is roughly when you're within 10 supply of what your max is. So if you're at 27 out of like 36, you probably want to start one Overlord because you're within 9 then. But yeah, but if you're like 15, like right now you have 17 free supply, you don't need to make another Overlord right now because you're above that 10 cycle. And then once you get done with the droning phase, it goes from having about 10 free supply to now going to having then like anywhere between 20 and 30 free supply. Because then you're going to be making things way more supply required, like roaches and hydras and stuff like that. They're going to ramp up your supply way faster. So, and then also you can afford making Overlords in higher amounts quicker too, because you have so much economy then. But that's generally how you'd want to do it. So you would be making one Overlord at a time up until you have like 80 supply, and then once you're at 80 supply, you would probably be making like 2 to 3 Overlords at a time.
Got it.
All right, and then your scouting. We'll come back to your build in a second. We'll look at your scouting for just a sec. Okay, I'm gonna pause it now, and I'm gonna ask you a question. From what you just have seen just now, what do you think is going to be a ideal response, and what do you think your opponent is? Well, first of all, what do you think your opponent's doing, and then after that, what do you think an ideal response could be for you?
So, if I had to guess just off what we've seen, I would say some type of bio is coming, maybe a bio timing. But I also, during this game, I just had this game this morning, so I actually know what happened. I was like, what has happened? Is this guy like just somebody who doesn't know what he's doing, or what's going on? And it turns out that I got lucky, and this guy was just like, I don't think he even attacked me once.
Sure. Okay.
So from that point, I was just like, all right, I'm just going to focus on my spending.
Nice.
But typically, if I saw a barracks and an engineering bay and an expo, and what's the add-on that we've got here?
A reactor.
Yeah. Some kind of marine early harass or something.
So I would say this. I would if I saw this, I would go basically like, okay, the engineering bay is way too early to be used for anything really other than one thing. And if anyone ever makes and it's showing you also on the command center what it's being used for, you need an engineering bay as Terran to make a planetary fortress. And this engineering bay is so fucking early. Like if he was using a standardly timed engineering bay, he would not be making this thing until probably 4 minutes, maybe 5. Because you're definitely not gonna like basically it would be the equivalent of you doing a build where it would be like, all right, I'm gonna go spawning pool and evo chamber at the exact same time, and I'm just gonna go for melee upgrade before speed. And although that you could do that, you totally could do that, the fact that we
melee
can also,
upgraded slowlings.
Yeah. But like, well, the thing about it is too is that it does kind of make sense if you think about it that way. Only because the upgrade of +1 weapons for every race is 114 seconds off of the forge, the engineering bay, and the evo chamber. But the upgrade for stim pack is like 79 seconds or something. It's a bit slower, or sorry, it's a bit faster of an upgrade. It doesn't take as long. So you could actually start +1 weapons and then also start stim pack after once you have the next round of gas, and you could time it together. And that's exactly how speed works too. Speed is also a 79-second upgrade. You could actually start +1 melee and then start speed with your next round of gas and get link speed +1 at the same time. They would time out together because the difference of time would be like, the gas being mined for the other upgrade. But here's the thing, okay? So although that could make sense if you think about it that way, the fact that his command center, the top of it, is, you can tell it's already starting, it looks like it's already becoming a planetary fortress. Like, once that thing gets really raised up, and if it's like that PF rooftop and it's not the satellite, it starts really looking like a planetary fortress. Like, we'll just let it play for just a second, okay? I'm gonna show you something really quickly about command centers. So when it's tucked into the base like this, when like you can see that the top is not raised yet, right? Of the like this is just a little detail about a command center that you can tell what it is before it happens. So it's stuck. It's like the top looks like a PF and it's stuck into the command center. But then once it raises, it's what it's actually going to be, and you can see it's raising right now, and it's raising as a PF. It's not raising as a satellite dish. If it was a satellite dish, it would be a orbital. But the fact that it raised as a PF looking top, it's definitely going to be a PF now. And then even furthermore, it gets you can just tell, okay, well, engineering bay is required to make PF. That is the one requirement of this building. So the fact that he shows you an engineering bay and the fact that it raised is a double confirmation that you can go, oh yeah, no, it's PF for sure. So if I see PFs here and I see a reactor of Marines, I literally say this. He's going to make unupgraded Marines that are going to be the most unintimidating thing possible. Like, unupgraded Marines are actually really, really bad. The only time they're ever good is if they hit you in like a proxy 4-rax type, or like a proxy rax with a bunker type situation where he does it honestly right now you would be being attacked by Marines if it was like that. Like it happens.
I wanted to ask you about some cheese today as well, by the way.
Yeah, we can get to it for sure. But like the Marines are only intimidating if they hit you before you actually have answers to it. But the second you have roaches, the second you have queens, the second you have speedlings, the second you have lots of different things Zerg can have, like unupgraded Marines just become complete crap. So it has to hit you within the first like 2 minutes of the game for it to be doing literally anything. Because at that point, then that's when it comes down.
This guy here has expanded as well, so.
Also, he's not proxying. He's not proxying it either.
And he's not proxying.
Exactly. So the fact that you see the command center, exactly, that's a great read. You're like, yeah, no aggression. Anyone who expands is they're not going to all in you. It's impossible to all in if you expand. That's just how the game works. You can't do both. However, you can harass. But I would actually, and even though you can make Reapers out of a reactor, I would say the chances of this dude making Reapers out of a reactor are also very, very unlikely because he's making a PFs. And the fact that he made an engineering bay before even expanding to his natural, and he already started a PF in his main, I would say there's a high fucking chance that his natural is also going to be a PF. Because, like, he's overly defending his main, and it's extremely exposing his natural. Like, he has no good army to defend his natural with. So it would make sense that he's going to PF his natural as well with his build. I do not think his build is very efficient. He's sacrificing the aspect of mules all game. So, look, basically, he's going to definitely turtle, is the point. Like, he's going to turtle his ass off with planetaries. Because you don't ever make a planetary fortress to be aggressive. It makes literally no sense. It would be like you saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to use queens. So I don't want creep spread or injects. That's what it's like to go PF instead of orbital command for Terran. It's like you just forego the whole macro mechanic of Terran. So the fact that he's not going to use mules is definitely massive for you to know that, because now you can go, well, if you're going to fortify your little kind of weak economy now and your 2-base setup, I can make my safety roaches, like the way I would say you should react to this and respond to this, make your safety roaches when you have full 2-base saturation, just like you normally would, just in case he randomly decides to walk at you with like 8 Marines at that point, which is not threatening at all, but you would at least feel comfortable then. But then just do not attack him. Just take your 3rd base like right after and fully saturate your 3rd. Like just be greedy to be the greedy form of what we showed in Beta GM. And that's exactly what we were doing every game in Beta GM, is we were going for safety roaches, but we did not attack. We just made safety roaches and took a 3rd base and saturated it. So that would be the perfect response to this.
So this is already enough information to saturate your 3rd?
Yeah. And you can also see as well he's making a missile turret.
Okay.
There is
sometimes.
Go ahead.
Sometimes I'm confident to saturate the nat, but then the 3rd is a little bit iffy depending on what you scout, and I'm often like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. But in this situation, it was pretty relatively clear.
This dude is extremely turtly. Like, we just scouted a little bit deeper in as well, and we can now see that like these are things that are all humongous at like over investing into defense and not having an army. Number one, he's double gas already. Anyone who double gasses this fast, 100% the mineral line is not fully saturated. Like, this is way too early to be double gas. His mineral economy sucks. So if we think about his mineral economy sucking, and he shows you he has a reactor barracks with Marines, there is going to be the least threatening possible amount of Marines that can be made here, because he's not going to have like 5 racks Marine with medevac, or something crazy where it's like, holy shit, this is going to be a huge 2 base timing. Yeah. It's going to be like 1 racks of reactor for the next like 4 minutes or 3 minutes of the game after he made it.
I was already at this point just like, yeah, I'm not sure if this guy. I'm in silver and this guy is not even walled off against Zerg.
Sure, and then the reason why I didn't wall off is because he PF'd. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, hit me with Zerglings. I don't give a fuck. I got a PF. Like, he does not care.
So I'm just, working on my macro. So when I saw that, I was like, I'm not mucking around with speedlings and stuff at the moment. So I was like, well.
Yeah, you definitely shouldn't be.
Continue on.
Continue
on trying to max.
Yeah, like the fact that, again, this engineering bay and this turret now, the PF and the turret and the engineering bay and the double gas, all of these things are double gas, horrible mineral economy. If early engineering bay doesn't need it that early, but then the fact that he also, that's an unnecessary expense right now, and the fact that he then uses it for a PF, it makes sense now why he made the engineering bay. And the PF is even further inexpensive as fuck building to make, and then it has a really bad mineral income afterwards. And then the turrets. Like, all of these things together are just like, this guy's economy is complete crap, which is why you can see clearly in the top, if you hit, or if you look at my screen right now, at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, you are almost doubling his supply. That is so unacceptably bad for Terran. Nothing has happened and you're almost doubling him. This is not like, oh, this is Zerg. This is before larva injects have even become a thing yet. Like, his supply right now should be like 26 or like 30, not 19. And you're gonna probably take even more leads in just a minute here. Your overload's gonna die though, unfortunately, because you flew over the turret.
Oh yeah, that did happen. Yeah, I was checking to see like he's putting like fusion core back there or something.
A fusion, like, okay, so like you gotta also understand the tech path. So I'm gonna throw this out there.
I have no idea, in case you couldn't tell.
No, I know, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. You got, but then this is why a lot of people, when they scout shit, this is why I tell people, don't freak out when you scout stuff, especially if you're in your lower league. I didn't even start really emphasizing, like, even the most minor actual scouting started happening in like Diamond League. In Platinum, it was kind of like, check him later, like check to see if he expanded, and then check him later to see if he's just gonna go simply bio or mech, and you can tell that by lots of barracks or lots of factory or lots of starport. Anything besides barracks is obviously mech, and anything besides, and then just lots of barracks is obviously bio. But right now, the build time of a barracks is like 46 seconds. The build time of a factory is 43 seconds. The build time of a starport is 36 seconds. So the point of, and then you also got to build a depot, which is 18 seconds. And you don't even start a depot at second one of the game either. Just like you don't start an overlord at second one of the game. The point is right now, if this guy was teching to battlecruisers, he would probably be almost finishing up. He would be like about to finish up a factory and getting ready to like start a starport right now. So getting ready to start a starport, and then he can't even make the fusion core until the starport's done. And that's if he was like prioritizing that tech path. But you can already tell he's not, because a planetary costs gas. So, like this dude as well.
Does it? Okay.
Yes, it does. A planetary costs 150 gas.
150.
That's why he double gassed. He can't afford it with a single gas because it would have taken way too long to get a PF this fast. He double gassed so that he could afford a 150 planetary, and he's going to do the same thing at his natural, pretty sure. So a factory costs 100, a starport costs 100. A PF is more expensive than both of these buildings, and he's going to make 2 of them. And then he's also cranking out turrets like crazy. And like, for instance, this guy making turrets this fast, he made turrets about 4 minutes before he can be hit by mutas. Like the fastest mutas you can go for. So this guy's also freaking out because he started turrets at like 2 minutes. And you can't even hit someone with mutas until like 6. So like it's his economy is complete shit at the moment. It's again, I don't want you to have to be like, I have to know the whole tech path. I have to know everything. I have to know all the costs of everything, how the build time of everything. These are things you should eventually learn later on. But all you should look at here is go, holy shit, this guy is making static D on top of static D on top of static D, and a PF is considered static D. So he's making all. It's like basically it would be like you making now as well. It'd be like you making like 4 fucking spines off of like 20 drones in front of your base. You're like, I don't want to die, and oh, you know what? I'm gonna add a spore to it, just in case. Like this guy's economy is so garbage right now, and just knowing that his economy is garbage, that should tell you one thing and one thing only: he has no money to make an army with at a scary pace. This is the most unthreatening level of economy for him to make an army. Like, he still can make an army, but he can make an army at a rate of supply that's going to be way lower than yours. So even if he does make an army and shows up at your base and you're like, I don't know what he's making, he could be making fucking Marines or Marauders or tanks. I don't know. It doesn't matter, though.
But
because
I should know for a fact I can be greedy by now.
Yes.
I'm not sure when I went for my third here, so we'll see in a second. But
it's okay if your third is not thrown down until you're fully saturated on 2 bases. The only thing I'm trying to say is if you do you remember how in BWM I always said make somewhere between 8 to 10 roaches?
Yeah.
Okay. So that range is based off of how comfortable you feel in the game. It's not like and if you don't understand at all and you just make anywhere in that number at all, that's okay. If you make 10 roaches here, I would still say, yeah, that's okay. Even though you don't need it for sure. You could probably get away with like no roaches here, but the point is if you see something that looks very non-threatening, and you're like, wow, this guy's gonna have no army, I would prefer you to make the minimum side of that roach count. So make like 8, and then just go right back to droning, because those 8 roaches, no matter what he attacks you with, would shut it down, and then it would allow you to have that time to make your drones for like your third, and then once you actually have that good saturation, then you make an army. Because again, this guy has nothing intimidating for aggression. There is a lot of intimidating shit here defensively. I would not recommend attacking this right now. He could easily repair that command center. If you tech really fast to mutas now, you're going to be engaging multiple turrets. It's
can
just.
a PF shoot air as well?
Can what? Sorry, PF? No.
So ground only. Yeah.
Yeah. PF is only ground. Yeah, and it does splash damage as well. Missile turret does not do splash damage, but it only hits air. But both of these buildings can shit on low amounts of units. So you definitely don't want to attack this right now. Because if you attack this right now, all that would do for you is that would guarantee you as well would be low economy. So the best way to respond to someone, if someone is going to basically go, you know what, I don't care about the whole map. I just care about fortifying my main and maybe also my natural. You can be like, cool, go ahead and take that. I'll fortify, or fortify is a bad word for you. I'll just take my main, my natural, my third, and maybe even take my fourth. Like, there's no threat here for you at all. And again, there are ways to play StarCraft 2 that you'll start to understand the more you play. There is efficiency and there's inefficiency. And what your opponent is doing right now is about the most inefficient way you can open the game. And the only way it makes any sense is if this guy plays against someone else who sees this and goes, I'm going to make mass zerglings and attack repeatedly. And, then his opponent keeps killing himself on the PFs or some shit like that. That's like the only way this guy would win games. Because if you ever see this kind of shit and go, well, I'll just expand and make drones, he can't punish it. The PF is static. Yeah. It's in his base. So are the turrets. And that's where all of his investment has gone.
Yeah, this is typically not happening, but, I'm beating around in silver right now, so this guy, who knows?
Sure.
Where he's at. But
anyways. It's all good. People just don't know how to read games, honestly, in lower leagues a lot of times. So, it makes sense that it could work. Okay, let's look at your. So we talked about his build. All you should know about this is, number 1, he expanded. Number 2, lots of static D. There's no threat. There's no threat here. You don't need to freak out and make spines and shit or anything like that. There's nothing that's going to attack you. And if it were to attack you, your literal 2 queens at the front of your natural could kill it. It would be like, oh, 4 Marines showed up and 2 queens killed it. Okay, we're cool. We're groovy. But now let's look at your build really fast. I want to see and make sure you're not going to fuck more stuff up about how you place things down. So we talked about your gas. Your gas is a little inefficient, as we talked about before. It's a little too early. And we talked about how you're going to have a little bit of a gas bank right as your queen's done. You should be hitting 100 right as your queen's done. And you're actually 32 above it, so you're a little bit high. Now, your larva is on the hatchery. You have 2 larvae right now. You could spend it. It's not the worst. At least it's only 1 per hatchery. But yeah, always try to spend it as soon as you can. And we'll go from here. We'll see what's going on. So you spent it. Good shit. You started another queen. You started a lair. With what's going on, you're doing everything fine. The only thing that's happened that I don't like. Okay, now here's another thing I don't like. The only thing that's happened so far that I don't like was the gas. Too early. It's just by a tiny bit. It makes your minerals harder to spin properly because your gas is a little fast. But it's all fine so far. However, you should be doing a double creep tumor right now. Wait, sorry, what did I just say? I think I just double creep tumor.
Double tumor. You mean double inject?
Yeah, double inject. Sorry. Yeah, I was like, I just heard myself say that. I was like, what the fuck did I just say? You should be doing a double inject right now. The only time you should ever throw a creep tumor down is if your build is going to be something that's designed for a very fast third base. And then you want to have creep towards your third to be able to guard it with your queens so they can roam back and forth. And also then, you know, to have more creep spread faster so you can then guard more of the map because you have more of the map. So, yeah, the fact that you're going for a tumor now is especially the fact that, so like the tumor, you should look at a tumor like this, okay? And an inject like this. An inject is the response that Zerg will make that's greedy. That is a greedy response. That's like, I'm going to just make lots of drones. I'm going to make lots of larvae. I'm going to use that larva. And I'm going to have no map presence. I'm just going to be like he is in my base doing my own thing. I don't care about what's going on the map. That's what a larva inject is. A creep tumor is the complete opposite of that. The creep tumor is the complete opposite of greed. It is the actual creep is actually like your form of like almost making like static D to a degree. It's your form of map control. It's your form of defense. It's your form of like guarding yourself. So what you're choosing to do is you're choosing to guard yourself rather than be greedy as a response to someone else also guarding themselves and, you know, being overly defensive. And all that happens there is you both fall behind.
If there was ever a situation to be greedy, this would have been it.
It is, yeah. Because there, again,
Got it.
It's like this. It's like you both are like behind a shield, just like protecting yourselves or some shit. Like you're both afraid of like taking damage to a certain degree, so you're both overly committing to defense.
I think I actually, in the past was doing double inject, but I've also I'm trying to build my creep spread
so the way
habit as well,
yeah.
And so I just did this. Like, maybe I'll try and get some creep out there.
Yeah,
but I did not read in this situation that I should have gone double inject.
Sure.
I was like, whatever.
In general, you should always, if you're gonna play reactionary, which is kind of what you're trying to do here, it seems like, because you're you're deviating from the build right now. What you should always try to do is counter what your opponent's doing. Do not match what your opponent's doing. So if well, okay, that's not always true. It's just hard to explain. So if your opponent is being like, just feel like if you can follow me here. If your opponent's going to be extra defensive, you can be extra greedy, and that means doing things like larva injecting your base and making tons of drones, and you're fine because if he's going to be extra defensive, then you don't need to worry about that. Now, if your opponent is going to be extra aggressive, you need to be maybe a bit more defensive. Go on more on the defense side, because if you don't plan on doing it all in, and your opponent is like, if your opponent didn't have an engineering bay here, and he didn't have a second command center, and let's say he had 4 barracks or something in his base, 3 or 4 barracks, and he starts making mass reapers, I would be like, okay, this creep tumor now makes some sense, because he's going to be really aggressive. He's making a bunch of racks like right away, and he may has gas with it, so he's probably going to go for like reapers or something. And then now that creep is going to help you to defend yourself because you have more mobility to work with and stuff like that. So you're doing the opposite of what he's doing, and you're countering what he's doing. The only time you ever want to match what he's doing, if you don't plan on doing it all in, is if your opponent is going to be the one who's also really greedy. So if your opponent, for instance, if you scouted his base and you saw a barracks that was like just starting, you saw a command center almost finished at his natural, and you saw a 3rd command center as well, like next to his main command center, and you're like, wow, this dude has fucking 3 CCs, and he doesn't even have a finished barracks yet. This guy's fucking greedy. Like that's that's like the epitome of greed right there. I'd be like, okay, well now, you can also be really greedy. You could also respond to that by doing the polar opposite though, if you wanted to, by going very all in. However, I would not recommend that for lower league. I would just I would want you to learn how to macro first. So I would say that's the only time you should match it, is greed to greed, and then you can counter aggression with your defense. You can counter someone who's being defensive with your greed. So it's always greed or defensiveness. It's always one of the two, and then you can match greed to greed, and then you do the opposite when it's not that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, you're definitely the Croup Tumor is a horrible choice here for that exact reason. And then in general, if you just stick to the build, you should always be throwing a tumor down with the second queen. And then the second queen is going to be your tumor queen. All right, and then now as well, your first inject is a little late because you kill the SCV. I would definitely recommend injecting as soon as you can. You definitely want to spin that. Like, that's always the priority. Over everything else, the priority is always larva. So, like, you're going to kill the SCV either way, which is cool. But I would rather you have actually injected your base and then kill the SCV rather than killing the SCV and then injecting your base. Because now now it's like you killed one of his workers and you've delayed your larva now up to this point already by like 8 seconds. And it's counting still because your larva, it's 25 to inject and you're at 35 now and counting, 36. And the SCV is like dead already. But yeah, it's because you're scouting right now. That's why this is happening and you're freaking out about the overlord.
Oh, I see.
So larva is always the priority, always. And if you can just get that down, you can fuck everything else up repeatedly. You can make like 100 mistakes, but if you don't fuck up the larva, you'll still win a lot of your games. But if you fuck up the larva at all, every other mistake is like if we were to talk about like problems, okay, of like percentage of like what's important, like 100% is like all of what you could have. Like overlord dying is like maybe a 5% mistake. The queen not injecting your hatchery at the right time is like a 30% mistake or something like that. Not spinning your larva on your hatcheries automatically is like another 30% mistake. Like the point I'm trying to make here is like you could make a Zergling and I'd be like that would be like a 2% mistake. Like it's like little tiny things that you do could fuck you up a little by little by little by little, but not injecting is a huge one and not spinning your larva is a huge one. They're way more critical than all these other little mistakes. And they'll definitely make you lose games if you do this repeatedly. So if you make these mistakes like 4 times in a row, that's now like, holy shit, that's humongous. Like your build is like about to implode on itself because it's falling so far behind. Okay. So and also you actually with your so your larva inject, your timings are a little fucky. Like they're a little messed up. You throw down a Roach Warren before you've actually spent your inject. And the thing was you actually didn't inject your natural and you actually delayed your inject on your main hardcore. So although your timing of your Roach Warren is actually fine because you can afford it, you can easily afford it, your larva is so far behind right now. So ideally what you want to have happen, this is what you want to have happen. The second you hit 18 supply, spawning pool, right away. The second the spawning pool's done, queens, right away. You don't like wait for 10 seconds or something like that between these things. Like you don't wait till you're 18 supply and then wait 10 seconds and then make a pool. And then when your pool's done, wait 10 seconds and make a queen. You want to get these things as soon as you can. Like as fast as possible. Then once you have the queen out, you inject immediately. Ideally, you want to inject the second your queens are out. And then the second your inject pops off your hatcheries, you immediately spin that larva that was from the inject into like drones, and then as soon as you afford that, your money will dip down below what it costs to make a Roach Warren, barely, but then it'll go right back up, and as soon as it goes back up, that's when you make the Roach Warren and the Evo Chamber in your wall. That's the idea. So it's crucial about your queen timings and your larva spinning. And like, I will say this too. You can see that even though your build is falling really far behind for what you could be for like the pacing of what a Zerg build should be, you're crushing this dude still. And it's because his build is so ridiculously defensive. It's like overly defensive. It would seriously be the equivalent of you at this point now just making like, with the amount of turrets he's making and the amount of PFs he's going to go for, it would be like making 8 spine crawlers and like 2 spores in your natural right now. Like it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And your gas is fine. Your gas should be going down right after you make the Roach Warren Evo. Your gas should start. But again, you can see right here you're missing injects. You've already fully missed a full inject on both hatcheries. So those are things. These are rotations you need. Like, nothing else actually matters as much as the inject. So larva spinning and injecting, those are a combination package here. Those are #1 priority. If you fuck everything else up, it's okay, as long as you don't fuck that up. Because you can make, like I said before, you can make like 100 mistakes a game, as long as it's not your larva, and you still win. You could still get diamond playing this way. But if you fuck up the larva, just fucking up the larva one time on your main is worth the equivalent of like 20 mistakes. And doing the same thing on your natural is the equivalent of like 20 mistakes. And if you do it twice, that's like 40 mistakes. Do it 3 times, it's like 60 mistakes. It's like, it adds up so fast how many mistakes it's worth if you fuck the larva up compared to everything else. Like I said before, it's just so much more important. And you are already missing injects. You've already missed almost 3 injects on your natural, and you've missed 1 inject on your main. Because you didn't inject the hatchery in the natural the first time, and then you already have up to 50 energy again on the natural again now. So you've missed up to 4 injects already. Alright, and then you have your third. Your third timing is good. It's like right as you're starting to make roaches. It's nice. You should be going immediately back into making drones. And look at your queens again. They're accumulating energy again. Like now your queen in your main is getting towards a 3 inject stockpile of energy. And your natural queen is already above 2. So this is about to be 5 injects worth of energy on your queens. Which is, it's basically like, you really got to keep more tabs on this. Like this is the priority. Also, keep in mind too, I don't know if you know this, but you can stack larva injects. You can actually queue them up.
I was aware of that, yeah.
Okay. Alright, and then ideally as well, you're going to want to have... where is your third queen? Okay, it's out in the front. So your third queen, I don't mind that it's making injects, or sorry, your third queen, I don't mind that it's making tumors right now. It should be able to throw down a couple of, like probably 3 or 4 tumors. But then as soon as your third base is getting closer to being done, always send your third queen that's making creep tumors to the third, so that, like, it should be going there now. So that the second your third is done.
I don't think I think I left it there for a while.
No,
I
it's
remember
okay.
looking around like, where's my queen? Because I was like missing an inject on my third.
I honestly don't expect you to inject your
Still all
third.
the way over there, damn.
Yeah, it's all good. But
anyways.
Always make sure you want to do that, just so that you can like maximize that inject on your third base as soon as possible. Because again, larva inject, like I said before, is critical. Because automated larva spawning from the hatcheries itself and also injecting larva is both equivalent 50% sides of production of creep, or of a larva. I mean, sorry. Larva is produced at the same pace of the automated spawning out of a hatchery as it is injected. If you perfect it perfectly. I'm having a hard time talking here. Like that's why spinning your larva is so important, because if you don't spin your larva, it'll hiccup the production of automated larva, because automated larva does not spawn if you have 3 on the hatchery, so you have to spin it to keep that going. And then injecting, you have to time it to every time do it, like don't miss it, so that and you have about, realistically, you have about 2 seconds of a grace period every time an inject is ready to pop off, where you can inject it again 2 seconds before it pops off. It's not like you have to get it like the millisecond it's popping off, because you do actually generate energy about 2 seconds faster than it's going to be ready to pop off. So you have a little bit of leeway to use, but it's still a very small window of time. So if you can maximize that, both of those things, that is your ticket to diamond. Once you master that, that's your diamond ticket right there. Everything else is something you can improve on little by little and get better at it. But yeah, those things definitely need to be prioritized a lot more. Because like right now, your quota that I would want you to be able to hit would be, right now, if you could hit roughly like 66 drones by about 6 minutes, if you can manage to do that, right now you're at 52. If you can hit 66 drones at 6 minutes, you are fucking cruising. You are doing a great job at actually, it's simply injecting your hatcheries and spinning your larva. That's all it is. And that's we're talking for Diamond League. To be able to, you know, and I know you said right now this is a silver game, but It's like, again, it's really a situation where bronze to plat is very, very similar. It's all about just
Yeah, I still have a little ways. I'm
exactly.
scraping into plat 3, so.
Yeah. So it's just all about like respecting the timers and getting them down really, really solid. And if you can do this situation now, and then 7 minutes is going to be the final like cherry on top of your macro for the most part, where it's just like making sure everything is flowing, making sure your hive is getting ready to be started, making sure your upgrades are flowing, all your speed, range, weapon up, armor, all that shit. Your 4th base is getting ready to be started, and you now have a choice to go, am I going to be going for a 4th base economy, or am I going to sit on 3 base economy and go max out here? And this is based off the fact that if your opponent, I don't give a shit what your opponent's doing, even if he's a PF guy. If your opponent is going for a 2 base build or a 3 base build is how you should decide this. If he's 3 base, you should saturate a 4th base. If he's 2 base, you should saturate 3 base. You should always be 1 above what he is. So if he's 2 base, even if he's 2 base PF, I will say this really fast, just as a disclaimer. 2 base planetary fortress, you could easily saturate 4 bases. Realistically, you could. However, to make it less complicated, just don't be 2 base PF, 2 base orbital. Don't make it that complicated. Just say 2 base is all he is. It's just 2 base. If he is 2 base, saturate 3 bases yourself, 1 plus what he has, and then just max out.
Off of 8 to 10 roaches?
Yeah. So you would make 8 to 10 roaches. Always make 8 to 10 roaches off of your natural. Always. And then always saturate your 3rd.
But you're happy going to 66 drones with 8 roaches?
Yes.
8 to 10. All right.
So if they have a natural at all, if you scout this command center at the natural like that ever, you're more than happy to go 3 base full economy and then go back to unit production. Always.
Okay.
The only time I would the only time I would ever tell you don't saturate your 3rd ever is if your opponent is not actually, there's no command center there. There's no natural. It's just a 1 base all in. You could then, once you're making the safety roaches off of 2 base, just keep making roaches, and you could add on hydras to it. So you could go 2 base roach hydra, and that's because he's 1 base all-inning you, and that game is going to be over by, honestly, like now. The game would be decided by like 7 minutes, and it would be done. So
I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I felt sketchy going up to 66 drones just with like 8 roaches, but
yeah, there's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing he can kill you with if he's 2 base. Literally nothing. Because look at the supply. Like, again, your build, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Your build is a bit inefficient, and you are still doubling his supply. Like you are fucking destroying this dude in macro right now. But your build right now, in terms of what it could be, your supply right now could be like 140.
And I have another question about going from 66 drones to 80.
Sure.
Do you want like a little bit more army in there in between?
No.
Or
okay, so just to make
that
it,
one's pretty cloudy for me. I'm always like, I don't know, should I
yeah.
just go for that 80, be greedy?
Just to make it really really just practice this to make yourself feel really safe, okay? What you can do is you can saturate your economy up to 66 off of also having your queens and your roaches, you know, your 2 base roaches, which is going to now take you to, that's another like 8 to 10 roaches of supply worth of supply. And then you have your 3 to 4 queens you should have. I would say, honestly, start a 4th queen always when you're starting to inject your 3rd, so you can have a 4th queen go out and spread creep some more. That'd be nice. And then you're going to supply all the way up to like 120. So you have 8 supply of queens. We'll say you have 20 supply of roaches, and you have 66 supply of drones. You take the remainder of what you still need to go to 120, and you can make either roaches or hydras. Either one works. All the way to 120. And then once
120.
you're 120. And then once you're at 120, if you know your opponent is not like trying to kill you, up to this point, just saturate your 4th all the way to 80 to 85 drones or so, or like 80, right around there, that window of drones, 80 plus. And then once you're there at 80 plus drones, max out on roaches and hydras all game from then on, or just pure hydras if you want at that point. You could do that every single game, as long as you know your opponent has a natural.
All right, sounds good.
And then I mean, I like that you attempted to scout though this game. Always keep trying to do this for this, when you get higher and higher in league. That way you can see what's going on. But yeah. Yeah, someone in my chat just said, look at that creep, it's so good for silver. Yeah, it's actually very true. Like your creep spread is definitely above par right now for your skill. But again, here's the thing that's crazy though. I think you're behind where you should be. Not for creep necessarily. I do think you're ahead of where your creep should be, but your build is behind where it should be because I would rather you have shittier creep spread and better larva injects than better creep spread and shittier larva injects, because again, larva is the god of Zerg. That is like the king of everything. If you have bad larva, it makes everything else bad. Like there's no recovery there. But your creep is good, to give you like to let you know. Like your creep is definitely like doing well here. You're definitely above what your league is right now. Your creep is already what I would say is like diamond equivalent.
Diamond equivalent, okay.
Yeah,
damn.
no, your creep is not bad. You have because here's the thing. This is honestly the way you should realize if you have good or bad creep. If your creep is able to already be covering the expansion you're about to take, your creep is good. So you took a 4th base and your creep is already fully covering it. However, I mean, it's not like giving you a fuckload of room. Like your creep, I would say, just to give you an example of like, I'm going to give you some pings here, okay? If your creep was bronze or silver, for real, I would say it would be 1 tumor. Like literally 1 or 0 tumors right now. And it would be like the 1 tumor you put in front of your natural. And that would be it. That's bronze or silver. Gold would be like your bases are just connected at this point in time. Like you have 1 or 2 tumors between all your bases, so they're all connected. Platinum would be like your creep would be like spread this far out on those pings right there. It would be like like 1 screen length in front of your natural and like a little bit of room in front of your 3rd and 4th. Diamond would be kind of where it is right now for you, honestly. And then Masters would maybe be like out here a little bit already. And then pro level, like GM level, would be maybe instead of having creep like the Masters one, it would be instead now also have creep all the way to the corners on both sides. If that makes sense. Like your creep is definitely not bad, but if you were, you could always make it better. But I seriously think your creep is about diamond equivalent right now for 8 minutes at this pace.
Okay, good to know. One less thing to worry about for now.
Yeah, so just, yeah, keep creeping as you are, but definitely put more attention into your injects for sure. I like your scouting too. Your scouting is also, I'm not gonna lie, dude, I would, platinum. Maybe even, like, close to diamond. Your scouting and your creep are, for the purposes of what you're doing, way above where you're playing at right now.
I've also got the habit to send my 2nd overlord, like just rally it into their base at the 4-minute-ish mark.
Yeah, it's good.
But a lot of times I'm like, it goes in and I'll see, I'm like, okay, I see some stuff. Not really a lot of ideas about what it means, but
so I think your scouting, your awareness of actually doing stuff on the map is definitely above silver, but I think your comprehension of what you scout is not there, and that comes from.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Yeah, you'll just take time. It takes time to understand these things, but what I would recommend you start doing don't do this right away, okay? So this is something that comes later. For now, just make your build good. Fix your injects, go for the faster maxes, try to really push yourself in all forms of mechanics, even try to push yourself creeping better. Like, don't ever think you're good and be complacent about it. Always think you can do it better.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm working on, because there seems to be a consensus amongst higher level players that macro is the difference between plat or
really
above.
Yeah. So just,
that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's just definitely keep perfecting the build more and more and more. Get it down faster. Get the larva really pumping like crazy. And then once you kind of feel comfortable with your build, and seriously get yourself to a point where you can play the game and you don't even have to think about it. Like if you realize you ever, like, let's say you talk to like a family member or something like that on the phone when you're in the middle of a game and you're still able to fucking kind of do it pretty well, and you're like, I can still do this and I don't have to think about it anymore. I can actually, like, I have all these like spare time to think about other shit even though I can still play the game properly. Once it becomes autopilot that you can actually do it, then you're like, it just means it's kind of second nature to you, and you can then spend more time thinking about other stuff like your opponent. So if you think about your opponent now when you can't even do your own build properly, everything's going to just fall apart. But once you can actually handle your own shit really, really, really well because you've just grinded it into you so hard, then you can be like, okay, now what's my opponent doing? What does this mean? What does this cost? What is the tech path required? and so on and so on, and then it'll make more sense for those things. But right now, if I were to teach you tech path, when you don't even have your own build fully solid, it's just gonna fuck everything up. It's gonna be way too much. So for now, yeah, for sure, focus on your own build. Keep that going for yourself, and it literally it won't even matter what your opponent does. You'll still win every single game, or lots of your games up to diamond.
So I am 1 unit away from maxed here. There we go.
And like a 9-minute max is
How
great for silver. That's great for silver.
What about plat?
9-minute max for plat. Yeah, it's not bad. 9-minute max in general is not bad. Like I could see 9-minute maxes being able to take you to diamond. But you got to think about it like this though. Every second that goes by, when your max is delayed and delayed and delayed, from like if it's a 920 max, if it's a 940 max, if it's 10-minute max, if it's an 830 max,
the quota in the YouTube series was 8 minutes 30.
Sure.
Getting there, but
so the thing about it is,
if I stayed where I was at 9 minutes, what do you think? How far does that take someone?
Okay, you got to keep in mind the B2GM series is very vague. It applies to everybody all the time, and it applies to all builds. So it can't be perfect. It can never be perfect, like where it's like that is always exactly what you need to hit. It's an average. It's like it's basically like the chances of it not applying to your game could happen, but it applies to like 70% of games. So it has like it's like the highest average of like it will make sense most of the time. But in StarCraft 2, this game is way too complex to make one build be perfect for everything. It just doesn't work. It literally doesn't work that way.
I got lucky that this guy did nothing. Like if I'm in a typical plat game and I'm getting harassed and I'm getting people doing this and that, I'm not hitting a 9 minute. There's no way.
Let me explain it to you like this, and this will make a lot of sense. I feel like it should. I hope it will. If you play against somebody who is extremely defensive, and their supply builds at a slow pace, a 9-minute max will feel fucking strong. And you'll crush them because their efficiency is very bad. However, if you play against someone who's greedy and you don't punish them at all for it, you don't realize it's greedy, you do something that's like inefficient a little bit yourself, where you do a 9-minute max and they're at like 160 supply at 9 minutes, which is respectable, and you're like, oh shit, like my army doesn't feel as good as it was before. Like in last game I crushed, and this game I didn't, because they're playing a lot more efficient than the last guy you played against. Well, then a 9-minute max is gonna feel worse. So it really depends on how efficient you both are playing. And the more efficient your opponent is, the less efficient an inefficient build will be. Does that make sense? Like the efficiency goes down, up and down, not based off of a minute or a number. It's based off of your opponent. The more efficient your opponent is, the more efficient you need to be to respond to that if you want to have what is considered still efficiency. So, just don't fixate on the number as much. Like, yeah, you can use it as a quota to be like, fuck, I didn't hit it, I should try to hit it. You can do that. You can use it as like a momentum, a goal post to go for. But just know, always strive to do better. Like, always try to push yourself to take a faster max. Because I'll tell you right now, if you go Roach Hydra, it is capable of maxing out at like 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Or like 8 minutes. So
8 minutes. Right.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy how fast it can max. If you actually did everything like perfect, you would just be like, wow, I maxed and my opponent had like if you maxed at 8 minutes, look at how much supply your opponent would have at 8 minutes. You would max out when he's at 62. You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna push him with max roaches, and he's got 1 bunker of marines, 2 widow mines, and like 9 marines chilling next to the other bunker. Like it would just be. You would just fucking, like the whole screen would be covered in roaches right now. You'd be like, okay. Yeah, so it can always be faster. But I would never expect someone to hit an 8-minute max though if you're not already like in GM or like Masters, honestly. Probably GM. So you've scouted where he is. With your little roach scouts on the sides of the map. That was great. I like that a lot. You did it also at a decently timed pace. You didn't do it and then like wait for a full minute to move out. You maxed out and then quickly moved out afterwards.
I often forget that actually, and then end up like delaying myself. But yeah, I remembered this time.
Oh, well, that's good. Like again, that's something to work on. This game is, Shit. Okay, there we go. This game is super hard. It's not easy. It's not something you're just gonna be like, well, I know what to do, so I'm gonna do it. That's something a lot of people that are like, you know, if you've heard the term Twitch chat GMs, there's a fucking huge difference between feeling like you know what to do and executing what to do in this game. It is so much harder to do it than it is to just say to do it.
That's why I tanked my account, because I felt like I knew better than what I was doing.
Exactly.
Like, come on, man, I gotta survive something good here.
Yeah, it's just the point is you can always improve, and just if you feel like it's great that you go, you know what, that was shitty, oh that was bad, oh that was bad, I could do that better, I could do this better, because you already have the mindset of improvement. Do not ever do something in your mind where, especially if you're like a lower level player, where you just feel like, that was good, and you go, yeah, I don't need to improve on that anymore, my macro's great and I'm gold league, like I have it down. Let's work on other stuff now, because my macro is perfect. Like, if you start thinking that way, you're definitely going to become complacent and improve at a very slow pace. So always have the efficiency mindset in your head, where you go, how could I do things better, even if I think I did it good. So yeah, like, it's a good mindset to have. And you got nuked. Okay, we'll go back and watch that.
Oh,
this does not matter. Okay, this is just kind of fun. You won the game.
Yeah, no, I quit out after about another minute, because I'm like, all right,
you quit? You quit this game?
For a time trial. Yeah, no, I was like, all right, that's good enough for.
Okay, well, okay, I got you.
For a time trial.
You're talking about, you're just trying to see how well you could do it, but you don't give a shit if you won or lost this game. You definitely would have won this game.
Yeah, I did that. If you look at my account, you'll see like 15 losses in a row or something.
I thought you quit because you thought you couldn't break him or something for a second. I was like,
no, I was like, I put him back on one base, so I was like, that'll do for a coaching replay.
Sure. Yeah, no, you definitely had this game won. I'm glad you understand that. For a second, I was worried.
I did not actually see that nuke happen though. That was a doozy.
Yeah, it's
good on him for that.
It was great.
He was lucky he hit that.
Great quality content right there. Well, you probably made. You know what this? You want to know what you just gave this guy? This is the fucking story this guy is gonna tell all of his friends, because if you quit this game right now, okay?
41 kills. He's a commander.
He's gonna go like this. This guy's now gonna go to like BlizzCon and be like, dude, this one time I was playing a Zerg who had this fucking, like, think of like Starship Troopers, okay? And like the bunker scene. Zerg everywhere. I fucking nuked it. Everything died and he quit. Holy shit, it was the most epic nuke of my, like, he's gonna be like drinking, like spilling his drink on everybody. Yeah, exactly. You just made this guy's fucking year.
Yeah, good for him.
Because he probably, if he doesn't look at the replay, he probably thinks he won the game, and he thinks that you just got destroyed.
Protoss.
So, yeah. So, I mean, you know, you made this guy really happy. But yeah, I mean, so long story short, fix up that inject, fix up that larva spinning and generation, all that stuff, and you will definitely always improve on that. Larvas, so there's like a 3-step priority, I would say. Larva, number 1 by far. This includes spinning and generating, all of it. So injecting, and always 5SD, 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 inject, 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 5SD, 5SD. That is like, you should be going back to this like repeatedly the whole time. It doesn't have to be all game. Just know that 5SD does not literally last the entire game of StarCraft 2. It only lasts in the developing stage of StarCraft 2. Once the developing stage is over, it's a little more forgiving if you miss an inject here and there, and you can just stack them up later, because a lot of times you'll be maxed out and you're just accruing extra larvae to then use to remax later. It's no longer like a thing that has to be done every second. It can be done every 45 seconds or every 60 seconds whenever big fights happen. So it's more forgiving later on. It's very unforgiving if you fuck it up early on. You need to definitely prioritize that. Number 2 is creep spread. Your creep spread is already above your level. Maintain it if you can, and always try to improve it too, but just don't make it the priority over creep spread. All right, sorry, do not make creep spread the priority over injecting. Just always do it after. Like, inject first and then creep. Inject first and then creep. Inject first and then creep. And don't do one base, one tumor, one base, one tumor. Literally do it in rounds. So go like all bases injected. Okay, good. Now all creep. Go back to all bases injected. Okay, now all creep. All bases injected. Just do not ever be the kind of guy as well that I've seen before, who goes like one base inject, okay, I'm gonna do something else for a while. Okay, I'm gonna inject my natural randomly now. Do something else for a while. Okay, now I'll inject my third and my main. Do something else for a while. Okay, I'll come back to my natural 30 seconds later and inject that. Don't fucking do random things. Do it in sequential form where it's like all injects, done, all larva, or I mean all creep done. And then the third final thing that you should be adding into your priority list is build, like anything about the build. So lastly, if you fuck this up, if you're like, ah, shit, I made the roaches at like, instead of 44 drones like I'm supposed to, or like 41 drones, I made it at like 48 or 50. Like, that's fine. I don't give a shit. Like, that's way less impactful to you. Or if you're like, oops, I made 2 overlords instead of 1, like you did early this game. Again, a little bit of a little bit of a mistake, but not critical, not huge. It's like these little tiny mistakes. If you mess these up, they're very forgiving compared to the other stuff. As long as your creep is good, that's great. As long as your larva is good, that is required. That is mandatory. So all the other little things about like when you take your gas, that was a little bit of a fuck up, but again, not game ending. Your pool timing a little bit early, not game ending. Things like that, they're all fine. Just don't worry about those after you do a round of creep and do again, more importantly, your larva. If you do it in those orders, your games will just flow so much better.
Lava, inject, creep.
Yes. Larva,
right?
like, think about it like this. Again, if we're going to talk about 100% about what's
Or
important.
Spending, inject, creep.
Yeah. So all larva, all forms of larva, if we're talking about anything like a pie chart here for 100%, everything larva required, that's like 60% of what's important. 60. It's more than half of everything. It's like a humongous chunk of what's important. And now if we're talking about what's important with creep, that's like 25%. So now we're up to 85, and the final like 15% of what's important is like everything else. Your overlord timings, your roach warren timing, your evo chamber, your pool. I mean, they're still important to a degree, but if you fuck your larva up, the whole game gets fucked up like hardcore. So keep spinning it and keep making it as fast as possible. All right, and then yeah, man, that's any questions about this game? What we just talked about? There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but how you feeling?
Good.
Okay.
I'll go back to grinding. I might book in again whenever you're free in the near future.
Yeah, sounds good. You did say earlier too you wanted to talk about a quick thing about all-ins and stuff.
Yeah, if you got time. I mean,
what do you want to look at exactly? Do you want to look at a replay?
yeah, I had a couple of 2 different cheeses
Okay.
that I'm really not feeling okay with.
We'll jump into which one would you rather me do? I'll jump into one really fast and I'll go break it down really quick.
Called Proxy Robo.
Okay. So just know, the reason why I didn't prioritize talking about all-ins and cheese and stuff like that as much, but we can do a little bit of it right now, is because if you just fix your macro early on, you'll be like, wait, I'm getting all-in? Oh, that didn't feel like an all-in because I just destroyed it. Like, literally. Your macro that game was a little fudgy at times. It really was. Like, the whole creep tumor thing you did for a while, the whole missing injects thing, that shit is unacceptable. Like, for really trying to, like, if you were getting all in and you were, if I was watching you get all in and I watched you miss like 6 or 7 injects, I'd be like, dude.
Well, just wait. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. But like, all these, like, it's like I don't even have to answer the questions for you about like, okay, what do I do here? What do I do there? What do I do here? It would literally be just A, move his ass. That's the answer. That's the answer that would just solve like 100% of your problems at this level if you just macro properly. Because you'll just always have more than he will, because everybody fucking plays inefficient here. Like, okay, you did a gas trick, that's fine. Because you were supply blocked. Or were you? Hold on. What did you just do?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I gotta watch this. So you make a drone. You...
Something. What did I do? I don't know why.
I don't think you did, because you should have been 15 out of 14. You make another drone. And then... Okay, so and then you make a gas, you make an overlord, and then you cancel the gas, and you stay at 14. So you kind
I
of...
did it wrong.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's funny.
As long as you know. Yeah, it's all G. Alright, and then you're going for an expand. 16 hatch against Protoss. I like it. I would prefer it myself as well. And we'll speed up the Overlord a bit, get across the map. Okay, so you're getting cheesed by cannons. Now, this gas reaction is a bit fast. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Your immediate first reaction to this should have been a spawning pool. Because
I
even
don't know
if
where
you,
it's at. Yeah.
even if you take the gases right now, there's nothing you can do with it if you delay your spawning pool. Like the spawning pool is the key here to defend this. Your spawning, so you prioritize your spawning pool after the gas. Definitely prioritize your spawning pool first, and then I would say double gas as well as maybe an excessive response. The only time I would ever recommend double gas is if it actually has like a gateway here, but it's just cannons. This is my point is it's too much economy. There's two ways I would defend this if I were you, okay? And this is gonna be a bit messed up, a bit hard to understand. I get it. It's gonna make you feel really uneasy, but if you can do this, this would be great. This base is going to die. Accept that. You have to accept that because if you're not,
I end up canceling it. And
yeah,
trying
exactly.
to move.
Good. That's good. I was gonna say because if you're not gonna pull drones, which I don't think you should, I never fucking want anyone to pull drones, especially if you're not like high level, because you're literally just gonna fucking like probably aim move the probe for a while because you're just gonna not micro much. I totally could see that happening. It's just gonna get awkward. It's a very tedious thing to do to micro drones against cannons. It really is. So what I would say you should be doing is a response to this. Number 1, start a spawning pool. Number 2, send a drone out of your base to go around the cannon rush and take a different base, like maybe this one or something. And then let him commit cannons to building here. And once they're like almost done, not when they're like warping in, but when they're like maybe 75%, like the first one's like 75%, cancel the hatchery and go around it again. And you could maybe even build another base, like right there. You could literally expand both ways around it. And then as soon as you do that, you take a gas. So like your gas should be going down maybe when your pool's maybe like halfway done or something, or like a third or like halfway done. Because it's not going to take you very long to go drone, run there, cancel, go there. And then you come back, make a gas. And then what will happen is you'll go one gas off of 3 base. And then you can slowly make Ravagers to kill this. These cannons are static again. They're stationary. They're not going to walk into your base and kill your hatchery. They're stuck where they are. So if you make Ravagers, you can kill the cannons out of range of the Ravager. You don't have to auto attack them. You corrosive bile them at the edge of the cannon.
Oh yeah, that is the solution that I attempted here, but I just didn't execute it well enough.
Yeah, sorry, because you walked too close and then you got hit by the cannons and they aggroed you and you walked into them further and they killed you.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but
this is what I imagine. You're gonna get too close to them. They're gonna shoot you. Your units are gonna be body aggroed to them then because they're gonna get shot. They're gonna go in deeper and you're probably gonna lose Ravagers to cannons. That's what I would imagine is gonna happen. And watch your gas too. Your gas, when you go double gas like this, you're gonna have so much fucking gas that you cannot spend. Because again, you're doing it off of one base. Okay, now, God, this is one of those things where it's like this is like a silver, gold, plat range.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about like pro level builds. This guy's trying to do a build that's like a parting level build, basically. I don't think
Someone says, "Where's the queen?" in chat. That's correct. Exactly. I forgot it.
Sure.
So the game goes on a little bit longer, and 3 Ravagers come out, and when I see shield batteries, I pretty much bounce. I'm like, I don't know.
Let's do this. I'm gonna give you an example here about
How's the road to 500 ViBE?
Yeah, thank you, Fearless Pinata. It's good. Doing a coaching lesson really fast though. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Okay. Let's talk about. I'm gonna give you a timer. Okay. This is gonna be more critical here because I'm gonna tell you right now the way you would beat this build is if you just quickly got to Ravagers off of 1 gas, which you could afford to do, and then you immediately corrosive biled his cannons. Okay. Like there's a lot of things about like overlord placement and all this shit that's way above low league. Let's not worry about any of this. Let's just worry about if I'm gonna make Ravagers as a response, I want to prioritize getting fast as fuck Ravagers. That's it. That's the only thing we're gonna worry about. And then also doing the expand around it thing I just said a second ago. So expand around it and get really fast Ravagers because again the priority is gonna be the pool right away.
Double expand around it.
Yeah.
That's
fine. Yeah, you can do it. That's fine. Making these really, if I was like yes and no to like different situations, that is correct to say it that way, but it's gonna make you fucking super confused. You're gonna be like, wait, what? Hold on. It's gonna be like, okay, so I'm not sure what I should be doing. It's gonna make the game so confusing, and the way honestly that I've come to find, you coach somebody who is unsure of shit, is you just again do what I did to beat a GM with the whole like max out concept where you're like, well, you said 830, just make one that's going to work most of the time. And this will work. Like what he's doing with the robo proxy is fucking rare for a low level player. This will happen probably like if you get cannon rushed in low level, this will happen 10% of the time. So what I'm going to recommend you do is going to be weaker against the robo proxy. You have to realize that at some point you will. But for now, it still can beat you. But the thing is you still, it doesn't mean you just lose. You could still beat somebody in fucking silver or gold or plat or whatever at lower level playing this way, even though it's not the most efficient way to do it against robo proxy. But the way I'm going to tell you to do it is going to be amazing against cannon rush in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is the second you make a reaction, this should have been a spawning pool. Your spawning pool should go down. We'll speed it up to the point when you see the pylon right now. The pool goes down right now, which would be when you would mine another 31 minerals. So we'll say your pool goes down the second that happens. Right now your pool, you should have a drone already like running over to a spot to put a pool down. You don't want to, so here's the thing too, if you're going to build a pool and you're like, time is of the essence, you don't just wait till you have the money and then say, drone, go over there and build it. You send the drone to go over there while you're getting enough money, and then as soon as you have it, you build it right away. So your pool should be going down like at 116, like right this second. And then at 116, your pool should be started, and we'll speed it up now to when you actually build one. Your pool starts at 131, and it's a 46-second build time. So if we're talking about when it would go down, it would be 202 is when it would be done if you built it at 116. So your pool should be done right now. And you should, again, same exact thing. When you see your pool's about to be done, you should be already running the drone at like, if it's gonna finish at 202, you run the drone at like 159 or 2 minutes. So you have like 2 to 3 seconds to get the drone to a spot to build a roach warren. Roach warren should start right at 202, and it should finish at 241. So roach warren should finish at 241. And then 3 roaches should start at 241, which is a 19-second build time. So at 3 minutes exactly, 3 roaches should be spawning out of your base. Now, the way you want to do your larva with this to be, because again, time is of the essence, right? We're trying to be as efficient as possible. You would start your gas like directly after you start your pool, like early, right after, whatever, like a third of the way or whatever. Just make your gas like right after you make make your gas right after you make the pool. That's fine. It would give you enough gas to make your roaches right away, right when the roach warren's done, because it's a lot of time you have to mine the gas now. And you can spend your larva up to 10 seconds of the way into your roach warren production. A roach warren is a 39-second build time. So don't just sit there with 3 larvae on your hatchery the whole time it's building, even before you start it or whatever. You can actually make like an overlord. You can literally spend all your larvae to where you have 0 larvae on the hatchery when you start the roach warren. And you could even, if there's a larva that spawns automatically on your hatchery within the first 10 seconds of the roach warren, so 10 seconds or less, you could spin that larva too on whatever the fuck you want, like another overlord or whatever, because you're going to need extra supply, because ravagers are 3 supply a piece, and then a queen too is 2 supply, so that's 11 supply to make a queen and 3 ravagers. So you're going to need a little bit of a supply cushion for this. So you could make your larva into shit up until 10 seconds on this roach warren. But as soon as you hit 10 seconds, you stop spinning larva, and you let larva generate up to 1, 2, 3, and then as soon as you have 3 larva, your what's it called? Your 3 larva and roach warren would be ready to go at the exact same time. So at 3 minutes, or sorry, at 3 minutes your roaches would then have spawned, because at 241 is when we said your roach warren would have been done. So you would have 3 roaches at 3 minutes. And then the Ravager build time, I think, is like 9 seconds. We'll see. I think it's 9. Yeah, it's 9 seconds. So at 3, we'll give you like a 1 second discrepancy, because you have to like actually let the Ravagers spawn, or the roaches spawn out of the fucking eggs, and then hit Ravagers on each one of them. So we'll say you have 3 Ravagers, or if not 3, you might not be able to afford all 3 at once. You could definitely afford 2 though, and you might have to wait on your 3rd one for the last bit of gas if you're doing 1 gas only here, which it would be okay. You would still have a couple Ravagers though, guaranteed. You would have 3 Ravagers out, 2 or 3 Ravagers out at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and your 3rd Ravager might come out like 5 to 10 seconds after if you didn't have enough gas yet. And then you would have Ravagers being able to shoot the cannons. So right now, we'll see what goes on for you. You start shooting his cannons at 350. You could start shooting his cannons at like 313, 314. And if we back up, because again, it's a couple seconds of discrepancy as well to run out of your base. So if we say 313 is when you start shooting the cannon, this is huge because if you shot his cannon with corrosive bile, and the way you'd want to do it as well is you'd want to shoot in between the two of them. The reason why is because corrosive bile splashes everything it touches when it hits the ground. It hits everything. It doesn't just a single target a building. So if you put it between the cannons, you still could not get hit by the cannons. If you ran your Ravagers, like, think about it like we're in a way where if you want to go perpendicular to it. So you wouldn't want your Ravagers to shoot between the two cannons from the top of them or the bottom of them or from any side that's heavy on favor of one or the other. You'd want to shoot between them from a perpendicular line that is exactly across from them. So it would be like right here where the green box is. That's how you'd want to shoot them. You wouldn't want to shoot them from down here or like right there. You'd want to shoot from like right there. So then if you shot between them, here's what would happen. Let's say you have two Ravagers right then. You would do 120 damage to both cannons because each bile does 60 damage and a cannon has 150 shields. So you would do 120, 120. You would do 240 damage to these cannons total together. A shield battery heals 3 energy or 3 shields per point of energy. And if you just burned 240 shields, that's 240 divided by 3, which is 80 energy would be burned off this battery. This battery would have 20 energy left off of just your first 2 biles. And then a bile is a 7-second cooldown. And if you maximize the bile again a second time, and now let's say this time around you have 3 Ravagers because your last Ravager is now finished because you finally had enough gas to do it. Instead of 120 damage, it's now 180 damage. So you could be not only fully breaking the threshold of the shields of the cannons, you would be doing hull damage to the cannon itself by 30, because it's 180 over 150, so you'd have 30 excess. But then on top of that, you would completely deplete that battery, and you'd completely deplete the energy of or the shields on the cannons. And then only a little bit of like the whatever's left on the battery, which would be like 20 energy, it would heal back up to 60 shields on one of the cannons. The other battery would finish, and then you would triple bile again, and off the triple bile again, guaranteed you would deplete both batteries now, and the cannons would be taking some more hull damage again. And then from this point, you could probably do a final round of bile, a third round of triple bile, and you would kill both cannons. Again, both batteries would be 0 energy. And then if you did that, it would take, from this point, 713, or sorry, from 313, it would take 7 seconds apiece. So that would be, and then you have to give an excess of like maybe 2 seconds of travel time, or in case you fuck it up, it gives you a little bit of like grace period where you don't, maybe you're not perfect at it every time. Maybe it takes you 1 or 2 seconds to react. We'll just say 2 seconds. So we'll say 9 seconds per bile from 313, and that's already number 1 at 313. So we only have to do the extra 2 because we've already done 1. So we're looking for 3 rounds of bile, which is going to be 9 seconds plus 9 seconds. This is 18 seconds. ViBE, where are you pulling these stats from? It's fucking numbers in the game. If you don't know what I'm saying, if you're like ViBE,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know people in the chat
exactly,
might not, but I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what I'm
Click on the
saying,
unit, it tells you how much shields it has and how much energy it has.
if you don't know what I'm saying, just go back and listen to what I just said and listen to it again. So you're looking for the last 18 seconds from 313, which is going to take, what's 13 plus 18? It's 31. So at 331, these cannons should be dead. And pause right here at 331. The robo is not even done. It's finishing now, but it's not even done yet. You could walk forward and you could kill whatever the fuck you want. You could kill the probe, you could kill the pylon, or all of it. Like you could kill, I would say don't kill the batteries because they don't matter now. Kill either the pylon or the robo. You will definitely either underpower the robo and it won't be able to build an immortal in time, or you will kill the robo itself before an immortal pops out and then it won't pop out. It will only take the Ravagers, if you're corrosive biling and just auto-attacking it down, it would take the Ravagers about 10 seconds, or like maybe 14 seconds to kill that robo. Very, very short amount of time. However, the immortal build time itself is 39 seconds. So there's no fucking way if it takes 14 seconds to build it, if it takes 14 seconds to kill it and it takes 39 seconds to build it, there is no way that immortal's coming out. So
hang on, so it's but the priority is the cannons. Kill the cannons first.
Yes. Good. Well, I'm telling you to kill the
After
robo.
that, I'll
after
be going.
Yeah, well, we're giving you the amount of time that it would have taken to kill the cannons and deplete the batteries, and then kill the robo. And the point is you would have been efficient with your biling and your build. So, we said at what did I say? It was 18 seconds plus 313, which was what is that? 331. At 331, you would have then started to kill the robo. You could have already, if you would have made everything as efficient as you possibly could have, that would have made this build way easier to deal with. And because it's all about every second that you waste matters a lot, and you wasted a shitload of time on building your spawning pool. You didn't really waste a lot of time on building the roachborn or on building the roaches from having the tech available, but you wasted a fuckload of time on making the spawning pool, which is why you could have broken his whole cannon setup already and started working on the robo, but instead you're still just you're starting to make Ravagers when he's already got the robo done. That's very delayed on the Ravagers. And your first corrosive bile hits him at like 350. And he makes an observer first too, which is crazy. It was a good bile. Let me watch your bile. Yeah, your positioning of bile is good, but you're like where you're casting it, but your positioning of where you're standing is a little bit scary, because I feel like you're casting it from the top of the ramp, so your roaches are just walking closest distance to it to just go, and that's
what I did. I did not like micro them around to try and get a good position.
You should, walk into a perpendicular line first, and then like walk down to the perpendicular location first, and then bile, and then you will have a much less likely chance to get shot by a cannon like that. And you got shot by the cannon 3 times, and the Ravager's half dead. But notice how just one round of bile, like, just fucked that energy on those cannons. Like, you can deplete the cannons like crazy, especially if he stacks his buildings like that. And notice how you're not using the bile at all. You still
at this point, I don't know what I was doing. I was just looking around, and then 20 seconds later, I quit out. I was like,
like, you still...
all hope is lost.
If you would have just sat where you are right now, like a little bit south of where you are, like, again, like right there, and you just sat here, watch the bile on the cooldown. So you get shot a couple times, you're up the ramp, your bile's ready to go again, right now, at 410. It would take you like 1 second to walk forward again if you were like in a safe spot right there. 1 second of time if you cast it for the Ravager to walk from like here to there to cast it, or like here to here to cast it. Like very, very limited amount of space to walk forward. You cast it, you back up just to be extra safe, again, just for like that little minor like 1 second spot. And then you, again, so at 410 you could cast another round, and let's see what happens until you use the Ravagers from 410, when you could have actually used them again. So from 410 to, that's another bile, that's a full bile you missed right there again. Every like 9 seconds, we'll say. It's, again, that's being fair. It's a 7-second cooldown, and we're accounting for like 1 or 2 seconds of walking. So we'll be fair and say 9 seconds. That's 1 bile you just missed. A full bile you just missed.
Not sure if I even do anything else.
No, exactly. That's my point. Yeah, it's efficiency. I don't think you will, and it's okay if you don't. It's just, I feel like a lot of people that lose the shit like this, they don't realize how much time that they're missing to utilize shit when it's like important. But that's 2. At 28, that was your second. Now at 36, that's your 3rd bile you've missed. At 44, that's another bile you missed, and then you leave. So it's, and then what were you making there? Was that a Bane nest? There's a hatchery. Okay.
No idea.
It's okay. So just maximize time. Maximize every second. Because, and again, this is the last thing we'll say, and we'll wrap this up. When you fight an all-in, every second matters a lot. This is why, if you ever watch a pro gamer and people are like, if someone watches a game and they're like, what? Why'd that guy GG? He wasn't dead yet. The fuck? What a preemptive GG. I don't understand. Like, this guy, he doesn't understand what's going on in StarCraft. He totally could have held that. And let's say that guy left the game because he knows what an acceptable timer is. And what if his build is behind by like 15 seconds and the person he's playing against he is also like a pro or something, and he knows that if he
I'm
wastes
sure
those
that guy knows better than the pro how to do their job.
no, well, exactly. It's just a point of efficiency. If he knows he's behind and there's no way he can capitalize on the window of time that is important to hold an all in, that he's gonna die. So it looks like it's like, well, what the fuck? Why did he leave? But in his mind, he's like, well, let's just say hypothetically, like, I don't know, like maybe the guy had nerves or some shit. Or this is like a bad example, but for whatever reason, a pro gamer might be like, "Oops, I forgot to build a roach warren," which almost never happens. But let's just say that was the case, and he did what you did here, where he just has really fucking late roaches into Ravagers, and he's like, "Oh god, well now I have to fucking break the cannons after Immortals are coming out. This is now way shittier than it should be because I should be able to break the cannons before the Robo's even done." So that kind of shit is where it's like you might not understand the concept of like efficiency there, but it could happen. Like things happen to people, and you know, if someone in a lower level league doesn't understand their importance of efficiency, and they don't realize, they put themselves in a situation where they're already behind without even realizing it because they're not prioritizing what's important. And when you get cannon rushed, prioritizing the spawning pool is massively important, especially if you're going to go for a Ravager defense, because getting these things out like 40 seconds faster is going to make or break the difference of like this. So yeah, yeah, hopefully does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think I just wanted to see if you'd recommend a Ravager response and
Yeah,
also
always.
how to more efficient. I was assuming that's what the case was.
Well, the Ravager response is not about it's not about like the micro aspect of it, and all that shit is not the most important part. Like if I watched every time you shot cannons, I was like, oh god, you're getting hit by cannons every fucking time. Jesus, like your Ravagers are all red now. You gotta be careful. Like again, that's less impactful than how early you make them. The correct response is doing it fast. It's like it'd be like think about it like this, okay? Imagine, this is a good analogy. Imagine you see a fire in your house, and you're like, okay, the couch is on fire. And you just go, you know what? I'll get to it in 5 minutes. And by the time you get to it in 5 minutes, you're like, wow, okay, the curtains are on fire, the ceiling's on fire, and the carpet's on fire. Fuck, this is way harder to deal with now. Like, everything's on fire. This problem went from something I could get rid of really fast to now something that's just getting out of hand. Like, getting on top of the problem right away is how you deal with all-ins. So if you just kind of just sit there and go, okay, chilling. Okay, and now I'll deal with it. The all-in is going to be 10 times harder to deal with.
By the way, this was me trying to respond as fast as I could. But
sure, but like it's the fact that he builds the pylon. If you have two choices. One is you pull drones. Number two is you go Ravagers. If you don't want to pull drones, which I don't recommend you do, I do actually recommend you go Ravagers.
I would never do that with a cannon.
Yeah. If you don't pull drones, you make that fucking spawning pool right away. That's how you'd react to it. Like, you make the spawning pool before you cancel the hatchery. You make your spawning pool before you send out that drone I was talking about. The pool is, like, right away. And then you send your drones around it.
Got it.
All right, man. Well, hell yeah. I wish you the best of luck, dude. Yeah, we definitely went pretty long here. It's all good, though. But, dude.
Hey, man, I appreciate your time. And also, just want to say, I hope you get this Twitch GM, whatever it is that you're going for.
Yeah, the premier contract.
I just tried to resub, and it wouldn't let me because I've already got a sub through until whenever, sometime further on in July. But
dude, it's all well. That counts then. It should count. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for the support, and thank you for buying a coaching lesson. I appreciate that too, and I hope it helps.
Yeah, definitely.
And feel free to ask questions and all that stuff. When you're like popping around in the chat and things like that. If you like, ViBE. So what did you say again? Like, I do not mind if you like want me to touch base with you again on something like for like you asked me a question. I just kind of give you a response to it. And if you want to watch this again, if you want to go through it again, like listen to it again, like if you feel like, because there's a lot of shit we talked about, obviously. So if you watch it again, I guarantee there's going to be things you might pick up on the second or third time around, opposed to the first. I'll send you the VOD for this too by tomorrow, and it'll be posted on YouTube and stuff like that.
Cool, that's great.
All right, dude.
All right.
Well, best of luck, I honestly, I think you definitely have the potential to get the diamond. Like seriously, if you really buckle down and fix that macro, probably within like a month or two. Like I could see you definitely promoting fast if you just really prioritize that, because the other aspects of your play don't seem. And okay, we'll say this too: you could get diamond in like a month or two, but you'll definitely have a struggle with game understanding. Once you get to diamond though, that's when I think you should work on game understanding, like really breaking down like tech paths and what the fuck does scouting mean. Because for now, just worry about just worry about expansion, no expansion. Just worry about that for now, and it'll make your life so easy.
All right, drop some of the scouting. Focus on the mechanics. I will, and I'm gonna go away and grind, and I might try and book in with you again in about a month, and we'll see where I'm at.
Sure, sounds good. And just
for free.
One more thing, just to clarify why I said that too, just because I don't want it to sound confusing. It's because I want you to think about your build more than your opponent's build, because the more you think about your opponent's build when you're not perfecting your own, it makes your own build fall apart. Like if you look at your opponent's build and you go, what does that mean? Suddenly I missed 2 injects. That's not like, that's the shit that'll happen to you if you're not like muscle memory doing your own build perfectly.
Oh,
That's pretty much what's happening right now. So
Yeah. All right, man. Well, good luck.
see you, man.
And let me know how it goes. And if we do another one, I look forward to it, dude.
Cool, man. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Thank you. And adios, dude.
Catch you later.
All right. Chat, stream, YouTube, guys. That's been another coaching lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy it, go check out more. I have a Bronze GM series, and I have more coaching replay analysis stuff. If you guys want to learn more about the game, I have many videos. Like we're talking hundreds of videos like this now. So although if this was not what you specifically wanted to see, you might see something you did like, or you like that applies more to you. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time. See you in the next one. Have a good night or day wherever you are, and good luck as well. Peace, guys.